Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel. We are back with the tips again. It is round 3 in the AFL. It's going to be a big round of tipping. It's the Easter round, so there's going to be an extra game on the Friday night and also on the Monday, so it's a longer round. I'm going to try and keep this video shorter today. I'm a bit short of time, but first of all, let's just go through my last round tips. I got 7 out of 8, so my best round of tipping so far. The one I did get wrong was the Adelaide Crows. I thought they'd get the job done in front of their home crowd, but no, they just really didn't show up to play. Geelong were the better team right from the start. Crows made a bit of a comeback late. Maybe if Darcy Fogarty had to kick that goal from the goal square, they would have been a chance, but well, we'll never know. So other than that, I felt a pretty easy round to tip. The only other one I was a bit questionable of was the Bulldogs, and they got the job done comfortably in the end. It was like over at quarter time pretty much, so yeah, didn't have too much to worry about there. Hopefully I can have another good round of tipping this week. Starting things off with arguably the biggest matchup of the round, Thursday night footy, Brisbane taking on Collingwood at the MCG. It is the grand final rematch. Both teams are coming into this game winless. Brisbane 0-2, Collingwood 0-3. Obviously Brisbane had the bye last round, so they've played one less game. And both teams look very shaky right now. One more loss for each of these teams could spell the end of their seasons potentially. Collingwood, they've just looked really off the mark. They were pretty well belted in their first 2 matches, and I'd say they were comfortably beaten by St Kilda in the end. They lost by about 15 points, and I think that St Kilda were definitely comfortably the better team for most of that night. Brisbane, on the other hand, they came out looking like the premiership favourites for the first half of that Carlton game, and ever since then, they have just been quite dismal. They started off well against Fremantle as well, kicked the first 4 goals, but then they just fell away, so I'm not really sure what's up with that. Starting games off on fire and then just completely falling away into obscurity. At the Gabba, I think that Brisbane get the job done here. They don't lose at home very often. Obviously they did in the opening round, but that was the first time in over a year that had happened. I'm not tipping it to happen again. I think Brisbane will get the job done. Collingwood will be 0-4. That would be quite incredible. So, yeah, I'm going to tip Brisbane to win this one by, let's go, 22 points. The first of 2 Good Friday matchups, North Melbourne versus Carlton. I think this is a pretty simple one to tip. North Melbourne have looked promising at times. At times against GWS, they looked all right. And they were up by as much as 33 points against Fremantle, but then they really had a really bad patch of that game where they just were pretty much uncompetitive against the Dockers, and they just piled on the goals and pretty much put the game to bed. It's like a 59-point turnaround or something. So there are obviously positives to take out of that first half. They look very impressive, but they want to not give up. They wouldn't want to just fade away like they did in that last match too often. So I think they'll probably put up a bit of a fight, similar to how this game played out last year. I'll tip Carlton to win by 31 points. North Melbourne will look alright in stages. They'll put up a fight, but Carlton will just be too strong. The other Good Friday matchup, we've got Freo taking on Adelaide here. Now, Fremantle have started off much better than what I thought they would, and Adelaide have done the complete opposite. They've really looked off the pace. Apart from that one quarter against Gold Coast, they just really haven't looked at all like how they were playing in 2023. I thought they'd be better at home, but they were pretty comfortably beaten. So I really can't trust Adelaide to tip them in this one, not away from home. I think Fremantle will continue their good run of form. They'll win this one by, let's go, 25 points. Essendon taking on St Kilda now. Essendon looked pretty good last round. Now the news has just come in that Peter Wright has been suspended for 4 matches. They might appeal that, but at this stage I'm going to go off the assumption that Peter Wright has been suspended and will not be playing in this game. St Kilda won against Collingwood last round. Now I'm not really... I think this is a pretty 50-50 game. Essendon have come out looking alright. 1-1, lost 1, so have St Kilda. It's Essendon's home game. I think I'm going to be tipping Essendon in this one. A bit of an upset. You know, there's usually 1 or 2 upsets per round. So, yeah, I'll tip them to... beat the Saints by 11 points. Should be an entertaining matchup. Could go either way. But I've decided to go with a bit of a risky tip on this one. I don't know, I just have a feeling that after seeing Essendon play against us, I think they looked alright. There's definitely a lot to work with there. Their attacking game's pretty good. You know, all their forwards like Carl Langford, Peter Wright, although he's out, and the types and the likes. I just think that they are... Jade Gresham looked good as well. So yeah, I think that Essendon will take it up to St Kilda in this one and they'll get it done in front of their home crowd. Port Adelaide taking on Melbourne now. This should be a cracking matchup for the Saturday night game. These two sides have played a few Friday night, Saturday night games recently, and quite often they have been very good contests. So this should be another really good game. Melbourne have a couple of injury issues down back. They've got Stephen May and Jake Lever. I assume they're both out for this game. I'm not entirely sure what they were diagnosed with, but they both have injuries. Stephen May had a rib injury and Jake Lever had what looked like a pretty innocuous knee injury, but I'm not entirely sure what the scans have showed there, if he'll be out for this game or not. I think that Port Adelaide, they haven't looked overly impressive in their first 2 games. You know, beat West Coast comfortably. They and same with Richmond, but especially in that Richmond game, they did look a bit shaky at times. I think they'll still get the job done. If Melbourne are missing those 2 key defenders, then I reckon that the Port Adelaide forward line should be able to really get hold of their back line, because both those players are critical to their system, and I reckon Port Adelaide will win this one by 12 points. Bulldogs taking on West Coast now. Now, you would think that Bulldogs would win this one comfortably after pretty well demolishing the Suns. And West Coast haven't looked very good at all in the first 2 rounds. However, West Coast seem to have a weirdly good record at Marvel Stadium where this one's being played. They actually beat the Bulldogs at this venue last year. It almost secured a 17th spot, avoiding the wooden spoon. In the end, it wasn't to be. So, I feel like there's a chance that West Coast could maybe surprise a few people. And for that reason, I'm not going to be tipping an upset, but I'll be tipping it to be closer than what most people might expect. In fact, I think that West Coast may actually really take it up to the Dogs here, give them a bit of a fright, but the Dogs won't make the same mistake twice. Obviously, they dropped this game last year. I don't think they'll do that again, but I think, yeah, the West Coast Eagles, they'll take it up to them, and the Bulldogs will just scrape home for victory. Richmond taking on Sydney now at the MCG. I feel like the Swans have been pretty decent at the MCG in recent years. Obviously beat Collingwood there this year. We have won a couple of finals over there in recent times. Last year I don't think it was so good, but the couple of years before that we were pretty decent at the MCG. Against Richmond, they haven't really looked like they're going to be a good team so far. Well, to be fair, after that absolutely awful first half against the Suns, they have looked somewhat alright. Like, they obviously came back into that game and made it a respectable margin, and they put up a fight against Carlton, only going down by 5 points despite losing 3 players to injury. And they were up at half-time against Port Adelaide, who they weren't expected to beat. Obviously, they dropped that game by about 30 points. And I expect us to probably win by about the same margin. But I wouldn't want to underestimate Richmond if I were the Sydney Swans. Because, yeah, they have shown that they are still a competitive team, even if they haven't been winning games. So I hope we can win. I think we should win. And if we do win, then we've got West Coast next week. We should comfortably win that one, I would think. And yeah, the start of our season is, we're set up really well, but we have to win this game first. We've beaten some pretty good teams so far. I'm hoping that we can get the job done against a bit of a lesser opponent, but there is a chance we could maybe get a bit complacent and drop this game. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. So anyway, bit of a ramble there. Go Sydney. The final matchup of the round, Easter Monday, Hawthorn taking on Geelong. I don't think there's really too much to say about this game. Now, these games are quite often these games can be closer than what you might expect. Hawthorn upset Geelong a couple of years ago and then got close the season before that, back in 2021 and 2022. Although last year was a demolition job. I think it was about 81 points. Geelong did a number on Hawthorn. I remember it was close at half-time, but then Geelong kicked like 10 or 11 goals to nothing in the third quarter. Jeremy Cameron had a field day. After what Hawthorn showed against Melbourne, this game could get ugly. Geelong look pretty good. I sort of wrote them off at the start of the season, but they are looking ominous. They could be back to being a really good side again. They just never seem to go down for too long. I don't know how they do it. I'm going to tip this game to be a 50-point margin, Geelong to win. And with that being said, that is the round done. So looking at the ladder here, we've got Hawthorn on the bottom of the ladder. Because I tipped West Coast to come close to winning, they've overtaken them on percentage, surprisingly. And then the other 3 winless teams, we've got Collingwood, Richmond and North Melbourne here. Also Adelaide, actually, on 0-3. And then there's a few teams around the same mark. Brisbane off the bottom of the ladder, winless. Bulldogs up into the top 8. Port Adelaide, Geelong, GWS Sydney in the top 4. Fremantle and Carlton around the place as well. So it's an interesting looking ladder. If all that I've tipped goes to fruition. But that being said, that'll be the video over and done with. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Comment down your predictions in the comment section below. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.